Well, hey, everyone. We are live. It's happy Thursday night. I'm here with Dr. Michael Gross. I'm TU Knapp, and I'm just going to introduce him really quick so that we can get right to the heart of the matter and the topic today. Uh, would you like to say hello, and then I'll introduce you, Michael?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for giving up your time. We have an important message. It's about a half an hour, give or take a few minutes, and I hope you'll enjoy it. But it's going to really empower you. So thank you so much for being on.
Perfect. Our topic today is emotional healing, and I'd like to go ahead, and this is the only piece that we actually script. Dr. Michael Gross is an author, the professional keynote speaker, transformational coach, and an entrepreneur. For more than 3 decades, he has been on a spiritual path as an intuitive, a healer, a spiritual counselor, and an incredible teacher. Through the guidance of spirit, Michael has assisted others in their personal quest for self empowerment, helping them to create the lives that they have long sought and to bring forth their own intuitive abilities. Michael currently teaches classes in spirituality, self empowerment, Reiki, and other modalities. In concert with God, the true source, he has also achieved great success and miraculous healings. He remains humble, knowing that the work that he all does, knowing that the work he does all comes from God, the true source. Woo, might be a little bit mixed up there. However, Michael lives in Lakewood, Washington, and has just launched his nonprofit. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a few minutes to mention your nonprofit before you go into our topic tonight, which is
Sure.
emotional healing. Okay.
The International Institute of Self Empowerment, as we say TISE, TIISE, and it has 12 arms. And when Spirit told me to create the nonprofit, Uh, I didn't realize what our first arm would be, and an arm is an expression is one of the first goals to accomplish. And one of them was working with abused women, children, and men. And having worked with Tiu and see how she awakened and became empowered, I asked her to be my director of the division of working with abused women and children, and she graciously said yes. So what we're doing right now is preparing for it. Um, our website is almost done. It's going a little slower than I planned, but better safe than sorry and sure. And just to remind everybody that the end of the year is coming up, and if you wish to make a donation, we're a 501c3, which means it's a tax deduction. So thank you, everyone. And I turn it back over to you because we're going to get going now.
Sorry, I had to mute myself out. I was trying to I'm going to be putting the contact information that we'll be repeating later on
Sure,
down in the chat. But go ahead, Michael, and just why don't we get started with respect to
absolutely.
everybody's time, okay?
Thank you so much, everyone, for being on. So, I wanted to talk to all of you about the energy on the planet. And that's so important for us to understand about the energy on the planet. And one of the ways of measuring it is the Schumann resonance. And the Schumann resonance, re, it kind of measures the vibrations and energies on the planet. And what affects it, of course, is as it's traveling through the solar system. What is affecting it is our emotions, our feelings, our energies, but also asteroids or whatever's around us as we're moving through the universe. And there's something called heaven sound, which is a lot different than the Schumann resonance. And heaven sound is what I call comes from the true source, which also affects our body. And when I talk about affecting our body, I'm going to talk a little later about heaven sound, but it's an energy to create harmony and balanced love. But the Schumann resonance has to do with our emotions and what we're feeling on this planet. But it's even more far reaching because what does it affect? Well, if we're angry or upset, I want everybody to realize that you're an antenna. And being an antenna, you're going to respond to those feelings. So if you go to a party and you're happy and joyous and everybody's, down, depressed or upset, you're going to feel it. And vice versa. You don't want to be there, you're tired, you go there, everybody's happy, you're going to become happy. So if we look at the energy on this planet at this time, it's frenetic. In other words, it's up, it's down, it's angry, it's joyous, it's happy. There's so much uncertainty, there's so much fear, there's so much doubt. People are worried about their finances, their career, what direction they're going into. All these things are affecting us. But let's talk about the effect on the planet. And we need to understand the planet is a living, breathing entity, so to speak. And we call it Mother Earth or Lady Gaia, whatever you wish to call Mother Earth. And she will respond to our energies as to how we feel. But it's kind of symbiotic because the nature spirits, it affects the nature spirits. And so let's talk a little bit about the nature spirits. The nature spirits is a term that I use, that there are spirits that work with the weather. And our emotions will affect the nature spirits, and the weather can be chaotic or beautiful or whatever. It also affects the animal, mineral, and vegetable kingdom. So if we look at the plants, how it affects that, how it affects the minerals on the planet. See, everything is energy, and everything will respond to energy. And we are co-creating everything in our life. By that, I mean how you feel, what you're doing, what you're experiencing. And that energy affects everything else. It affects not only your relationships, but the weather, the animal, mineral, and vegetable kingdom. You know, they talk about elves, gnomes, and fairies. Yes, they do exist. Those are the names we've given them. But more importantly, it affects the human resonance. So if you've ever stood under high tension wires, you get really jittery like this, you know, or sometimes you're around a situation and like it's very quiet and you sit by the ocean, or maybe you sit in the forest and you begin to relax and you hear the water or the tide coming in and out of the ocean, or even on a lake, or you hear the birds and you feel relaxed and at ease and you almost want to fall asleep. So energy is what we're all about, but our emotions, our feelings, and our thoughts have a lot to do with our emotions, which affects everything on the planet. So, in essence, you and I and everybody's responsible for what's going on in the planet. I remember something in the Star Wars, and Obi-Wan Kenobi used to go, there's a disturbance in the universe. And that's when the Death Star was around and, you know, blowing up planets, of those who were members of the, you know, Star Trek. And, but even beyond that, our thoughts and our emotions affect everything around us. And I remember there was the Whitewater debacle where the savings alone, it was back in 1988 and 89. I was living in New England. And what was occurring was the weather was really crazy. People were depressed, they were losing their homes, et cetera, et cetera. That affected it. And then if we turn around and we looked at 1929 to 39, which is the Great Depression, and then of course we have the huge droughts and the lack of being able to grow minerals and not minerals, vegetables, and what also was happening and not being able to grow vegetables. We have these huge windstorms, and what happened is the soil was blowing away, people were starving, and they migrated looking for different jobs. So if we look at that, we can see how the depression, or what people felt like, fears, doubts, insecurities, hungry, starving. There are people that even committed suicide during the Great Depression, and there was a lot of anxiety. So I wanted to discuss all this with all of you because I talk about you are the solution and you can make a difference. And when I talk about you are the solution, you can make a difference, it's your energy and thoughts that is affecting this planet, not each one of you individually. But you know, it's like the 100th monkey system. So if I affect one person who affects two, affects four, and so on and so forth. And we spend a lot of time listening to the news. And, you know, when I talk about the news, we really, when we look at the major broadcasts, most of the time we're not getting news, we're getting someone's opinion. I have no problem with that, except they need to say, that's my opinion. That's not the news. And it's very important for us to know that. Some of us who are baby boomers remember that there was more truth in the news than there is now. So we have to be aware of how we're being affected at a micro level and a macro level. So micro level is an individual level. I could be talking to someone, they're angry or upset, or disagreeing or screaming or yelling, and it's going to disturb your energy around you, which eventually is going to create an imbalance of the energy on the planet. Not individually, but as you deal with more and more people, a crescendo arises. And then on another time and experience, of course, if you're listening to the news, and there's an old expression, if it bleeds, it leads. So they're presenting chaos. But we don't hear many of the beautiful stories. Maybe around Christmas time we may. But for the most part, we just hear negative, 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 negative. So there's an old acronym. If you tell a lie long enough, then what will happen is people will believe it. So you can tell yourself a lie long enough, and if you keep doing it long enough, you're going to believe it, even though at your heart and at the deepest soul level, you know it's not true, but you keep telling yourself that. The question is that how are we able to discern and separate ourselves from the frenetic, negative, fearful energy that exists on the planet? And that's a real challenge. The good news is that we're going to go through challenging times for several years, maybe 2 to 5 years, 2 to 4.5 years. The good news is that as we get through this, what will happen is there's going to be a magnificent positive change, and life will get more joyous and happy. One of the wonderful affirmations that I'm being told to share with you is that you nearly need to say, I am of this planet, but not in the negative emotion of this planet. And you need to repeat it. Because what is occurring is we are losing our ability to discern what truly is truth and what truly is negative, and how we are allowing whatever is going on to be manipulating us. And I say that with a great deal of love, because when I listen and talk to people, I'm giving the gift to many of others of you will know whether they're coming from fear or anxiety or doubt, or they're coming from truth. And there's nothing more powerful than truth. So this difficult time we're coming through is that when you disagree with another person, and you have that right to disagree. My day, when we were growing up, and even younger man, we talk about things on the planet, whatever is occurring, and we had different opinions. And sometimes we got a little heated. Then we looked at each other and said, okay, let's agree to disagree, and let's go out and have a beer, whatever, and we remain friends. But what we're seeing now is a great division. And the division is, if you don't believe or think the way a person thinks, then they're angry, they're upset with you, and want nothing to do with you, which hurts each one of your own individual feelings. But if you don't have a lively discussion, not accusatory, but a lively discussion, what you are doing is food for thought. And you may want to think about it and agree or disagree. But I see so many things going on, and I see that Tia wanted to interject something, so go ahead.
I do. Would you mention a little bit more about how critical thinking would come into how we speak with people when we disagree?
Absolutely. So many souls, when we have discussions, they turn around and they state something. Well, they may have heard it on the internet, and if it's on the internet, it must be true. That old joke that we hear, and there is some truth, but there also is some fallacies. But when you're having a discussion, of course, a lot of people will say, "Well, where do you get your facts from?" Well, I Googled it. Okay, and perhaps the facts are correct or incorrect. But really, what you need to do is to research your facts when you're going to meet with somebody. So if you say we're going to have a terrible winter and it's affecting us emotionally, then you can talk about how our emotions affected the Dust Bowls in 1929, 30, 31, when we had the Whitewater, what they call debacle, which was savings and loan, what happened in 2007 and 8 and 9 when we had the recession. And you can go back at other times too that went on. And even when we had the hippies who said make love not war, we're against Vietnam War, And that changed people. And there was a lot of passion and anger, both pros and cons. So what I would say is don't go to fact check. And what I learned is a lot of people say, well, I went to fact checker and that's what they said. Well, after I researched it is some of it was really facts. Some of it was either left or right, but they pretended to be a fact checker. And also sometimes we say things and people will read into things. And I'll give you an example. A very dear friend of mine, and she's a vegan, and she wants everybody to become a vegan, and that's her choice. And she said to me one day, "You hate animals. You hate animals." I go, "What are you talking about? I love animals. They're great. You eat meat. You eat meat. You hate animals. You kill animals." And at that point in time, I looked at her and I said, that's a very harsh thing to say. I love animals. And on top of that, there's a reason why we're carnivores or herbivores or a combination of them. Has to do with our DNA and so on and so forth. I respect vegans. I respect everybody who, whatever foods they want to eat. But it is important for us to explain our feelings, but not be accusatory like she was with me. By the way, we finally reached an impasse and then we agreed to be friends, and she agreed not to bring it up anymore. Now, if you are a vegan or vegetarian, don't change if that's what you believe. But it doesn't mean if you're not a vegan or vegetarian, not spiritual. And certainly if we looked at Christ, and Christ did eat, whatever meat, probably goat or sheep, had fish, chickens, or whatever it was at that time. And he was very highly evolved and spiritual. So we need to understand whatever our belief system, whatever we think is going to control our emotions. Therefore, let's take a look at another situation. It's like a friend of mine who said, I can't go skiing, I'm going to break a leg. 3 years later, go skiing, he breaks a leg. So, see, Michael, I told you, you're going to break my leg. Well, this person manifested it because what you think, you create. What you create, you experience. And if we begin to look at all those things, then we need to realize that we have to develop a belief system. Number one, that we're open to what others say. And, I would like to quote Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. And therefore, I trust everything they say, but verify. So how do I verify? How do I know it's right for me? And there is what we call an inner knowingness. And that inner knowingness comes from the soul. And what that inner knowingness, you will intuitively, automatically know whether it's right or wrong for you. You'll get this feeling, not an analytical, logical mind, which I call the analogical mind, but really you get a feeling or a sense. And that's telling you that. And whether I become a vegetarian or vegan in the years to come, my soul will tell me. And there'll be a good reason for that. And, if we understand all those things that are going on, it's really incredible how we're being manipulated by so many people. Yes, to you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. My question is, I'm going to backtrack just a hair. When you were saying regarding our emotions, and if we're putting out negative emotions all the time, then that's actually creating more of a negative atmosphere around us. And it's also because that's an emotion, then that's also putting negative energy beyond us, right? So, would you tell the people that are watching how we can change that?
Sure. So, and, to continue with the negative emotions, or let's call fears, doubts, insecurities, lack of self worth, self love, self esteem. You've heard me talk about that. It's going to affect your body. You see, because everything you think resonates within your body because your body has an intelligence. Let's talk about that for about 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes. You don't tell your body, inhale, exhale. It does it automatically. You don't tell your heart, beat, beat, beat. You don't tell your muscles and ligaments, stretch, walk, or whatever you want to do. You just get up and do it, and your body fills in automatically, knows exactly what to do. But what the mind can conceive, the body will believe. So if you keep saying, I'm old, I'm not going to live to a certain age, I'm going to get sick, I am yada, 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 all these negativity or negative thoughts, it will affect your body negatively. That's how powerful you are. And you will also affect outcomes in your life of joy and happiness, or fear or doubt, or sickness, or even illness. So, how do you get around it? What do you need to do? And it's very simple. We call it reverse engineering. Be positive. And one of the easiest way to correct this is when you have a negative thought, it's very important you go cancel, cancel, cancel 3 times. And then you change the thought, I am happy, I am joyous, whatever. Well, why would you do that? First of all, every thought you have eventually will be created in your life. It may be 3 months, a week later, a year later. Well, how did that happen? Because you manifested it previously. You manifested it by your belief and by your thoughts. But when you go cancel, 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 it interrupts the communication between the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain. You go to the amygdala, and now you block that energy that is fearful or negative. And now you must replace it with a new positive thought, because there's no such thing as a vacuum in the universe. So if you go cancel, 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 and you don't replace it, that negative thought, whatever you want to call it, fearful or doubtful, will come into your life again. When you go cancel, 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 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cancel, cancel, cancel. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cancel, cancel, cancel. I'm going to do it again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cancel, cancel, cancel. By doing that, again, I want to reiterate, you separate the left brain from the right brain, go to the amygdala. Now you must replace it with a new thought. I like ice cream. I love the sun. Anything you like, anything that's positive. So it's important when you have that negative thought, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cancel, cancel, cancel. Replace it with a positive thought, and you will notice a difference, because you are creating everything in your life with your thoughts and with your words. Words have an energy and a frequency and vibration. So if you go darn, right? Or joy, look, darn, look at my voice, joy. So look at the difference. You can feel the energy. And it's important for us to think positively. So when something occurs that's negative, first thing, well, what am I to learn from it? And why did I create it? And once you've got it, it's over and done with. But it's up to you, because you are a prisoner of your fears. Or, like I say, are you a slave of your fears or master of your life? And you have that right to make a decision. And it's so important for you to realize it. So, right now on this planet, we're at a precipice. And this precipice can go into negativity or it can go into positivity. Now, you can't control all your friends and everything that's going over all the world, but you can control your life. And one of the most magnificent things that I'm so blessed to work with, I have a special group that I work with that has been working with me for many years. And what we're able to do is we go in, leave our bodies to assess the situation, and then we go back and we ask the true source and guides and angels, celestial beings, to assist us as a team to change the environment of what's going on. So I'll just share a couple of things. And one of the things we did was in India, they were having child brides, women were being raped. And what we did is we went in, we're all a small group, and worked with the true source and guides and angels. And we asked that this energy where women are being raped and child brides, that it now be stopped, and change the mass consciousness thought into love. 2 months later, they started passing laws about rape. And then a little further on, a little more, maybe a month or two later, they ban child brides. This is how powerful we are when we align with our higher vibrations and with what I call the celestial beings and the true source. Pretty incredible. So, what I'd like you to all know is that you're not helpless. It's important for all of us to do the right thing. And that's really important. So, I talk about right action and correct exchange. And right action means to do something that is spiritually correct, not from your ego, but is spiritually correct. And when you begin to do this work, you'll find amazing thing happens because correct exchange goes, you did this, it must come back to you. Send out hate, you get hate. Send out love, you get love. Send out prosperity, you receive prosperity. But more importantly, no expectations, no attachments. And that's so important because your soul and the true source will give you messages. That is so powerful. I'm watching the clock. I know we got a few more minutes, but I'll tell you a quick story. So one of my students said I wanted to see something spiritual. And I said, okay. So I had to talk to the true source and his soul. And he came back to class. Well, I didn't see anything. Nothing? He said, nope. He said, but I did see the nature spirits working on my plants. I love to, grow vegetables. And I saw them working on my vegetables. I said, wow. And everybody in class went, wow. Well, that's not what I wanted to see. I want to see angels. I said, but you said you wanted to see something spiritual. And your soul chose the nature spirits. No expectations, no attachments. So those are the things that are going on. And I will be expanding later into it. But I want all of you to realize that you can change your life from chaos and fear and doubt into one of love and joy and happiness. Because as you do the work of the true source said, tell everybody, Michael, as you do my work with me, everything will be supplied to you. So I thought I'd share this with you. Anyway, we're getting towards the end. It's 27 minutes and 14 seconds. So I'd like to talk to all of you and tell you that this beautiful podcast is brought to you by, and I've got the wrong
You got the same book, Michael.
Healing the Holes in Your Soul. But to you now, it's a story about overcoming obstacles in your life and being a soul that was lived in fear and doubt, and like the phoenix, rose from the ashes to be a force of healing and love. A must read, a must read, a must read.
Start with this one. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Dr. Michael Gross wrote the Spiritual Primer, and it has totally changed my entire life. Working with him, we're coming up on 3 years, and I can't imagine my life without him in it. This is a definite go-to book, and he has a new one coming out too. So before I give it back to you, Michael, just really quick, here we go. Yes, Cindy Lee, I see your comments. Yes, we are going to do our unboxing really, really soon. And Michael, we have so many comments coming in on this. I'm excited to share them with you. But start with this book, because if it wasn't for this book, the man right beside me here, who changed my life, encouraged me to write the book that he's holding. So on top of everything, these are great gifts. He has a second edition coming out on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and let you talk to everybody about your second edition a little bit. Okay, Michael?
Thank you. The second edition will be coming out. It's been delayed only because of the inflation and everything that's gone on. And I've had to look for another printer. The printer I was going to use the book closed down the factory. They have many other factories. And the last quote I got was, to print the book, $30 per book. And I said, what? $30 per book? My gosh, and plus shipping and handling and all that stuff. So I've been looking around for another one, and I finally located one, but it's going to take a little time to get it printed. So what the new book has this information. I should say my information, get the right book, but also about the manifestation protocols and some additional wonderful things. And you'll be excited to have it in your library and use it. I also wanted to talk to you about every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have what I call Words of Wisdom. And that's where you call in and ask questions. Hopefully, I can answer them. And then after you ask the questions, I deliver a 10-minute little, shall we say, motivational speech or talk about things that are going on in our life. And this motivational talk, I call it Words of Wisdom, is completely channeled. As you see, right now, I make some mistakes when we're talking because I'm channeling the information. I don't read it, I don't prepare for it. I open myself up for true inner source guidance. Also, the second Saturday of every month, what we have is Mass Consciousness Healing. And it goes from Pacific Time, 9:55 a.m. to 11:01 Pacific Time. So that's approximately 66 minutes, 67 minutes. And we have a little brief discussion for 2 to 5 minutes, sometimes less. Then we go into silence, and then I come back on, and then we end it. That is so important. Remember, I told you we have a small group, it's 5 or 6 people. Look what we were able to do in India, and I can tell you more stories. You are the solution, and you can make a difference. It's time to awaken. In order to access the call in, what I call it, Words of Wisdom and Mass Consciousness Healing, this is the telephone number. If you need to access it, it's called freeconferencecall.com. So you don't have to worry about getting dressed, putting on your lipstick. You can do it in your pajamas or whatever. Tia, will you share that?
Absolutely. The number is 202 926 1059. And the access code, Michael?
It's 125-446-pound.
I'll give it again. It's 202 926 1059. And the code?
125-446-pound. And that's for both the Saturday and the weekly Tuesday night. We also are doing what we call a podcast right now. And we appreciate if you would join us every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific time. You also can, I call it the replays. And anytime you wish to do that, you can go to YouTube, and it's Dr. Michael B. Gross. And you can not only view our podcast, but also there are 10-minute messages. I have 256 or 257 10-minute messages. It's audio. So if you're driving the car, you're tired, you're frustrated, you choose a number between 3 and 256 or 257. And you don't have to know what it is. You go, that's what I needed to hear, because that's what people tell me. And you can access that anytime by going to YouTube. Tio, is there anything you'd like to add?
There is a number. If you don't have an opportunity to go to YouTube, there's a number that you can dial in and get the recording as well. I put all this information at the very beginning. I put it in the comments on Facebook. That's why I had my attention drawn away from you, Michael. But here's the recording as well. It's 434-300-4170. And it also has an access code, Michael.
125-446-pound.
One more time. Okay, 434-300-4170. Access
The
code?
access code is 125-446-pound. I encourage all of you to spread the word, tell others. It's so important. It truly is important for all of you to share this information, because this planet is going through a lot of chaos, but you know that already. So you can make the difference. And again, I encourage all of you to remember these 2 beautiful books, Healing the Holes in Your Soul by Tia Knapp,
And the Spiritual Primer by the amazing and incredible Dr. Michael Gross, who actually wrote the foreword in my book. And I highly recommend. Michael, can I just ask you, is it available anywhere like on Amazon or maybe an ebook or something for the original if they want to get it now?
Yes, it is available on the book on Amazon if they have some left. Next week, I will give you the ebook address. So hopefully it'll have it all organized by then. Thank you, everyone. And I just want to thank all of you for giving up your time and to realize that you are special, that you are making a difference. And remember, you are unlimited. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much for joining us.
Love you.
Thank you, Michael.